Good morning, everyone. We were just giving everyone a couple of minutes so that any latecomers can join in, but I think we're going to crack on now. Just a little bit of housekeeping for everyone. We're looking at a 30-minute session with a 15-minute Q&A. We will try to get to all the questions that we get in, but some of them will follow up with you later. A couple of things on the actual Teams webinar deck. So along the top, you will see a Q&A button. So you can fire over any questions that you have during the session. And you will also be some polls that we'll be running as well during the session too. So they'll pop up in the middle of the screen. Feel free to answer those as and if you'd like to. And I think that is it. So we're good to go. So I'm just going to start off with a poll, the initial poll. So I'm just firing that up now. So this should pop up on your screen just to see how you are all feeling today on this lovely sunny day. So you should be able to just click an option and then submit, and it will disappear. Okay, so most of you are feeling great. Some of you are feeling good. I'm sure we'd all be great if we were outside now, but hopefully we'll make this a lot of fun for everybody and make it well worth your time. So I'm now going to just start clicking forward. So I'm going to disappear off the screen. So today on the session, we have got myself. My name is Peter Cronin. I am the Managing Director of We Are Acuity. The business has been running for over 24 years now. I am a designer, marketeer and brand strategist. We have also got Graham Robertson, who is Acuity Strategic Lead. He has over 16 years experience working in marketing across national CRM and retailers. We also have Mike Darville, client partner, over 18 years marketing experience, both client side and agency side. And we're due to be joined by Harry Adams, who is head of retailer marketing at Citroën UK, who has over 8 years automotive experience. Harry, unfortunately, has not been able to attend us today, but very kindly, she's recorded a session yesterday. So to all intents and purposes, it will be as if she is with us. So get well soon, Harry. So what are the reasons you're here today? So again, I'm just going to run another poll now, which should pop up on your screen. How would you rate your current local marketing? So we're all assuming that you're here because you have certain challenges in this space. So how would you rate your current local marketing? And we'll let that run for the moment. I'll pull up on that at the moment. So there we go. So the kind of reasons that you're likely to be here, there's certain common challenges that I think most of you will be familiar with. So firstly, no visibility of the local activity or the results that are going on out there. So it's very common for head office and the network to feel like they're not quite aligned when it comes to what the brand is saying sort of nationally and what is actually happening locally. It's also very hard to get any kind of reporting or insights as to what's actually going on. There can be a lack of consistency at local level. So it can be feast or famine. When sales are good, perhaps there might be no marketing going on. And when sales have dried up, it can often get really, really quick. We need to sort of do something, which isn't ideal in this always on sort of world that we live in. Often targeting can be very inconsistent. There can be disconnects between what head office feels you should be targeting and what the local audiences are being targeted, and also it can take a heck of a long time to launch a campaign. And you know what it's like if you're in marketing working with sales. As soon as they've got their campaign confirmed, they want it out there as quick as possible, and that can be very difficult when you're dealing with local partners without any kind of sort of marketing structure. The next one is a lack of control over local partner activity. So sometimes that can lead to very distressed, non-compliant marketing going on, the kind of things that make you wince. I'm sure you're all familiar with that happening. Often no best practice. You've got to remember that your local partners are very often more sales orientated rather than marketing. So they're kind of making it up as they go along. Often there's a lot of budget wastage, so it could be that money is being poured into the wrong areas, or it could be unscrupulous local agencies that are taking advantage of the naivety of your local partners. And often there can be a friction between the brand's comms and local comms. So you might be busy pushing a certain campaign, they could well be doing something completely different, all of which leads to an awful lot of confusion for your customers and prospects. And lastly, as I mentioned earlier, a marketing skills knowledge gap at local level. So as we've done some posts previously on LinkedIn, often the level of marketing maturity out there with local partners is not where it should be. And it's been proven that there are significant gains to be made by improving that marketing maturity of your network. I think it was something like an increase in spend on marketing of 1% leads to a 14% increase in sales, which is clearly significant. So all of this leads to very little insights on what's working and what isn't working. Often local partners, we say, well, why are you doing this marketing activity? Well, we've always done it. We don't know anything different. New media opportunities are often missed, especially in the digital space. Things are moving very, very quickly, and local partners really are intimidated and not sure how to keep up. And then often a very short-term planning perspective. Often local partners are very much drawn to when customers are in market, rather than this whole holistic customer journey right through from awareness, reputation, in market, and then post-sale. And also there can be a feeling of a lack of love between head office and your local partners. It could be that local partners think head office have no idea how to sell the products or services that you're promoting, and often head office can feel local partners is like the Wild West, that they're almost doing whatever they can to kind of mess up your brand and your sort of strategy. So all in all, there's an awful lot of friction that's out there. So how would you rate your local marketing? So from our survey just now, we've generally got sort of reasonable, average, okay. So a bit of a lack of consistency out there. So hopefully off the back of this, you'll have some new ideas for how to take things forward, really. So the benefits of centralized local marketing, they are things like improved local marketing relevance, increased brand awareness, greater brand consistency, faster campaign activation, reduced production costs because you've got the economies of scale, greater marketing effectiveness, higher local marketing satisfaction. If you engage your local partners, you're going to get a better result for everyone, and also better reporting. So wouldn't it be great if your local partners were working together with you on this? What sort of benefits would you be likely to get? Well, you're going to increase your best practice principles by having everybody on the same page, everybody with the same game plan. That is going to make a significant difference for you. You're also going to get increased engagement with your network. And we've seen just subtle differences in the way you treat your local network, and getting them more engaged will have a massive difference to you as a business. It also will fully immerse them in the brand, so they fully understand your objectives, what you're trying to achieve, your brand positioning, and also making it easier for them to do marketing. You've got to remember as well, they're juggling lots and lots of things, so the easier you make it for them, the more they're likely to do. And finally, for you as head office brand marketeers, that local activity becomes an extension of yours. So often if you look at a head office media budget and then look at what your network of local partners are spending, if you add those two together, you're going to get a significantly greater footprint than you would if you're both operating completely separately and in silos. So we have worked with a number of clients that work on a distributed model. That is, they have local bricks and mortar partners that are selling products and services. And something that we kept hearing over and over again is that they were interested in the marketing, but they had a lot of other things on their plate. And so they said to us, can't you just do it for us? And this is something that we heard many times over the years. And in the last couple of years, we've now started to drill into that. The pandemic was a perfect opportunity to increase the digital marketing maturity of local partners. So we went out to them and said, what exactly would this look like? Can you paint us a picture of what you're after? So firstly, they wanted it to be subscription based. They wanted it to include end-to-end management so that the whole thing was just done for them and leads were delivered. They were very interested in covering digital channels, although this managed approach could cover any channels from sort of events to door drops, etc. They wanted initially to kick off with digital channels because that was where the biggest opportunity was and where their lack of experience was causing problems. They also wanted us to deliver brand synergy, so making sure that it was completely consistent. They wanted it to be billed directly, so again, paying for it. They wanted that to all be seamless, and they really wanted to drive results both for head office and for the local partners. So it was absolutely looking for a win-win opportunity. So I'm now going to hand over to Mike, who's going to show you our experience of getting local partners working with you. Over to you, Mike.
Thanks, Peter. Good morning, everyone on the call today. Myself and Graham, we're going to take you through 6 steps that we've worked through with our clients when setting up central programs, and hopefully we can be sharing some top tips with you today. So step 1, initiate the program. Obviously, there's a lot to consider when you set up central programs, and it can be hard to identify where to start. So our advice would be clear on what you want to achieve from your program. What does good look like for you? What are the results that you want to achieve? What's right for your brand? So this might be that you want to increase awareness about a certain product or service that you offer. It could be that you want to drive incremental leads and sales opportunities to your partner network. So decide on what's right for your brand, and that's your starting point. It's also really important to set out clear objectives at the very beginning. So this will give you something you can check back in against as you go. And it could be anything from softer measures around partner engagement and partner satisfaction, right the way up to those hard metrics from digital campaign activation. Consider co-funding for early adopters. Is it possible to part fund the activity for those local partners who join you from the very beginning? And also be really upfront and really transparent about the potential return on investment and results you expect to achieve from your program, whether that's impressions, clicks, phone calls. Both of these areas will demonstrate some real confidence in your program. And really what you're looking to do in this step is to create that community of advocates, those ambassadors who are going to be with you from day one, help you promote success stories and PR the program to their peers, and be that group where you can bounce ideas and suggestions off. So our top tip in this area, while it might be very tempting to launch a program and have it available to your whole partner network, what we recommend is actually that you minimize the risk and maximize the learnings with a soft launch. So launching just to a select group of your partners, and this will give you some great insights and still arm you with the agility to tweak your program before you go live to your entire network. Step 2, program management. So this, without doubt, is one of the biggest considerations for the clients that we work with today. How's the program going to work on a day-to-day basis, and particularly around the area of data and GDPR, and obviously wanting to stay on the right side of the rules and and not create any additional administration tasks in that area. So our suggestion is, if you're generating leads or you're generating data as part of your program, then share this directly with your local partners. This is going to avoid the admin data, which obviously takes time and resource at brand level, which might not exist. To help you achieve this, you can also use third-party suppliers who can help you with things like landing pages or compliant lead forms. And we've got some really good contacts in this space. If anyone wants to get in touch after the webinar, we'll happily talk to you about that. From that point onwards, really, it's about ensuring that your local partners are engaged, and there's ownership within your local partners. So while as a brand you can set up the program, you can come up with the strategy and the materials, really when you're delivering those prospects, those results through to the local retailer or local partner, they need to be ready to act and respond and follow up accordingly. To help with this, we recommend that every local partner has a point of ownership. So one person within that business who you have a relationship with, and they'll be part of the community group that we spoke about in step 1, and they'll be the ones making sure that there's no missed opportunities. Our top tip here is absolutely, we recommend the use of landing pages and lead forms. Not only does this optimize the customer experience, but it also takes away those concerns around GDPR that we spoke about. And lastly, from me, before I hand over to Graham, step 3, so channels and media. So what channels are right for you? Where do you start with this? So our advice is to keep it simple. Start small, test and learn and measure. It will be easy to scale up your activity once you've got the wheels in motion and once things are running. But to start with, we recommend keeping it simple. Obviously, in step 1, we spoke about setting objectives as well and what's important to you as a brand. So it goes without saying that any channels that you choose to activate need to match up and marry up to those objectives. So if your objective was raising awareness, something like digital display could be a good choice for you. If you want to be targeting in-market customers, maybe it's more about something like pay-per-click would be a good choice. And we've also found from our programs that social media advertising is a really cost-effective way of generating additional leads for local partners as well. And of course, you want to make sure that the channels you're operating in are affordable and accessible to local retailers and local partners. Their budgets will be very different to your budgets at national level, so you need to take that into consideration. We very much recommend that you develop a roadmap for a longer term view of how your program is going to evolve. So obviously on day 1, when you launch, it will look in a certain way, and that's fine. But how do you want it to look in 6 months' time? How will you evolve for year 2? How do you weave in those key product launches or service launches that are happening next year? How can they be weaved into the program? So definitely have a roadmap for the next 12 to 24 months. There'll be a number of processes that you'll need to put into place. And these could be anything from processes around local partner communication and handling opt-ins, who's responsible for writing those, managing those, approving those. So there needs to be processes in place. There'll also be processes which aren't just related to marketing. So your finance team, for example, will need to be in the loop. If you're billing your local partners directly, they'll need to be aware of what the program is and what their role is. And as with any program, ensure you've got multiple staff members that can follow the process to avoid bottlenecks. If there's only one person that can approve creative or can approve payments, and they're off or they're in meetings, obviously that's gonna lead to delays. So our top tip in this section is actually around the area of billing. So for one of the clients we're working with at the moment, we've had a program live for just over a year, and billing was a real area of debate in terms of, should we be billing local partners directly for media? Would that cause a problem? Would we get some negative feedback there? We've been doing that for a year now without any problems, so we were worrying for nothing. And the benefit from a brand point of view is this means actually there's no impact on your brand budgets, because retailers are paying for their activity directly. I'll now hand over to Graham.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mike. Great that so many of you could join us today. Once we the next step that I wanted to talk you through is marketing campaigns. So it is possible to set up a program without having to invest huge amounts of budgets on production. First of all, really consider your objective and their relevance at local level. So if it's a large awareness driving campaign, you may need to adapt it so it's a bit more relevant locally. In digital channels as well, consider the right assets for the campaign. So it might be if you're, would a Facebook carousel be better than Facebook static, for example, to tell that story better to a local audience? All of these things we really should consider. In terms of using centralized assets, this will save everyone a huge amount of time, effort, and money. There's probably hundreds of local partners out there, all creating their own assets to probably tell the same story that everyone else is doing, as well as centrally. And if you think every single person doing this, it costs a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of effort. But by using centralized assets, you could just chop all of that laborious time and cost in half, and it just saves everyone a bit of a headache, really. Also, look at how assets can be tailored so that it improves the relevancy at a local level. And that could just be something as simple as changing the copy in a Facebook post to use some local terms. Just making it more relevant to that local audience is really key, and it doesn't cost any more money at all. Matching assets to the objectives as well is really key, and I think you can see this quite often, even if you just go into Facebook or another platform similar, that sometimes you get a nice, beautiful national asset that is there for building the brand, but then a tactical message has been shoehorned in there, and it just dilutes the message that you're trying to get across, and it's falling between two stools. So if your activity is about awareness driving, keep it simple. If it's about tactical, keep it tactical, but try not to merge the two, and just think about what exactly do you want to achieve on this. Also, it's really key to consider the full customer journey. So when you are creating the campaign, think about where you're driving that customer and what you want them to do next. So if you're driving them to a landing page, as we recommended earlier, make sure that on there's a data capture form that they can actually put their details in. And also, if it's a website, just make sure that the information's up to date and relevant and accurate, because there's nothing worse than driving someone somewhere that has out of date information. It sounds really simple, but there's many times that this could possibly go wrong. And just think of it as well as by centralizing this marketing, you're essentially, as Peter said, you're generating incremental reach and frequency for that campaign. So our top tip for step 4 is very much use centralized assets. They're brand compliant, they've been checked by legal, so they're compliant as well. And it just adds an element of consistency with the national campaigns, which is great from a consumer perspective. Step 5, target and optimization. Now, centrally, you'll probably have a wealth of targeting knowledge and insights from national, so it makes sense to use that. By having that information, you've already done the hard work, it's tried, it's tested, and you know that these are the audiences that resonate best with your activity. So when you're setting up a managed program, then you can use this information to really make sure that you're not starting from a cold start, essentially. One thing that we found very much was getting access to local partner accounts. You have to put a bit of thought into this, because if you're going to be managing campaigns for them, you need access to their Facebook logins and Google and YouTube. And it's not until you actually start getting into the weeds of that you can realise that it can be quite a laborious task. So just thinking about how you do that. One tip that I'd maybe recommend is actually, if you're going to do this for many central local partners, is to maybe set up one that can cover all of those accounts. It just make life a lot easier. When your campaign's up and running, certainly don't panic from day one if you're not generating the results that you need straight away. With everything, it needs time to mature. It needs time to start learning and the algorithms to kick in. So obviously be mindful of it and keep an eye on it and make sure that you are keeping it front of mind. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater on day one if your metrics are slightly off. We would always have maybe every couple of weeks review the results, see what can be improved, and just tailor and optimize it as you go without making too many rash decisions. And also when you're talking to your local partners, we found it's really key to just speak in the language they understand. I think many people have probably been in meetings or had a deck sent over to them that's got a myriad of acronyms and sayings, and we need to try and distill it into language that the local partners can understand. So our top tip for this area is very much in-flight optimization. Optimization is key. What creative works best? Trends, calls to actions. Can you A/B test and see, and then point your campaign towards the best performing creative? I think with all of this, it is very much test and learn. And as long as there's a belief that you're always just trying to tighten that screw and make things that little bit better, you can really impact the performance of your campaign. And last in the steps is post-launch promotion. By now, I very much hope that you'd be generating some fantastic results. And you really need to shout about these results just to maximize the program and make more people sign up. So outbound promotion, be entrepreneurial in promoting this. Retailers are your potential customers. So that might be a quirky email that gets sent out, or maybe a post or something, but something that will grab their attention and make them think about the great work that you're generating and the great results that you're generating. We found case studies are really, really key in selling this program. So that could be pushed through a local intranet with just information on how it's helped other local partners. Or it may be posting on LinkedIn, but just getting those results front of mind will really help to promote your program. Peer-to-peer advocacy is really key as well. I think if there's someone down the road that's doing a great job, that local partner next to them will want a piece of the action. So really don't be afraid to stimulate a bit of competitiveness amongst your local partners. Just like we're doing here as well, webinars and podcasts are a great way to engage. And we also found that one-page infographics are a great way to quickly visualize success. Your local partners may not be great at reading through a 50-page PowerPoint deck on analysis. So what we found is a snapshot report that just pulls out the real successes in one page, whether that's click-through rate or number of visits they've had to their website. It's just a brilliant way to distill the successes of the program. Also, that can then be seeded out to interested other local partners to engage them as well. And finally, as Mike said, co-funding is not essential, but it is a great way to stimulate people's buy-in and start to generate those results that will then generate case studies and advocacy for your program. And our top tip for this area is promotion from your brand is key. So centrally, really bang the drum on your program and let people know if you're presenting to your local partners or you're sending out communications, just how well the campaign is working, because they look up to you, and if they believe that you're bought into this, they're more likely to buy into it as well.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Graham. We've run a little bit over now, but just to give everyone a heads up, we've got Harry, who will be now talking for about 3 minutes, and then there's just a summary slide. So without further ado, I will now hand over to Harry.
Hello, so apologies I cannot be on the webinar live today, but I just wanted to take a couple of minutes just to describe a challenge that we had and the actions we took last year to overcome it. So many local retailers don't have dedicated marketing experts, and this complex and digital deployment can often fall to the sales manager, sales exec, or simply the person with the most spare time. So we knew we could expand what we were already doing for our network. We know that providing the right assets is absolutely crucial, but what we needed to address was those retailers who didn't have the resources or knowledge to make the best use of them. So we needed to do something that would have a positive impact on the way the retail network handled digital marketing. So we gave our network the option to outsource key elements of their digital marketing to We Are Acuity's in-house team of experts. Social advertising, pay-per-click, digital display, any aspect of an always-on service could be managed, honed, and delivered by the team with a simple opt-in process. On-brand creative, campaign setup, in-flight optimization, and end-of-campaign reporting were all taken care of by We Are Acuity on behalf of the retailer. This was great because it basically left the retailer free to focus on the area their talents really lie, providing exceptional experience to their customers. The results so far have been really encouraging. So we've seen 2 new car sales confirmed from one single £500 Facebook campaign, over 250 named leads from social media advertising, over 125 click-to-call leads from PPC, and over 4,000 visits to retailer websites from digital display. All in all, that's a great result, but added to that, we've got 4 out of 5 satisfaction of those retailers who opted in. Thank you ever so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's webinar.
Thank you very much for that. So we are now going to move on to our summary slide. So top tips, just a reminder of all the top tips that we talked about today. Firstly, minimize the risk and maximize the learning with a soft launch that will provide you with insights that will help you launch the program to the wider network of local partners. Number 2, use landing pages or forms where appropriate, and they will optimize the customer experience, because that's what it's all about. Point 3, billing local partners directly and in advance should not be a concern. Point 4, use centralized assets. They're brand and legally compliant, and they provide consistency with national campaigns. In-flight optimization is key. What creative works best? What are the trends, call to actions, and optimize to the best performing to maximize your return on investment. And finally, promotion from the brand at head office is absolutely key to get advocacy on any of these programs.